Did Gurdjieff, was he trying to find people that were, when he said, was he the people that were invited to his, well, to be a part of his, whatever he was trying to give? How was it? I had an idea. Sorry. Did he wanted people who were broken, who wanted to be fix themselves, or did he? Was it like and when you say too like, they had to work for it. Do they also financially have to work for it too? Like money, monetarily, they have to give something as well beside their interest. Just curious.
Well, there are a couple of things you touched on. First, there is the idea of being broken, and then the financial stuff. Did you have to pay Gurdjieff for him to teach you? Okay. You know, there are some important things to be said about the brokenness that lives inside people. First, the very fact that we are always pursuing something, that we are always restless, that we are estranged, in the sense that it seems there's a part in us that we are not really aware of, but it's always questing, looking, searching for something. And the fact that whatever we touch ultimately creates boredom. So there is something about the very organism, us, that it seems to be broken. You know, you have moments of satisfaction or contentment, they disappear. You know, it's like we are always having mood swings. You know, that's part of it. That we are born to be broken. You know, that's the first part. And it seems that the only thing that has been able to kind of put us back together for many thousands of years has been religion. You know. You know, being broken because of, and you can be broken, it has degrees. You know, you can be cracked, you can be broken into two pieces that you can glue back together. You can be broken in like 4 pieces, you can glue back together, but you can't put too much weight on it. Or you're just shattered. Okay? You can be broken by life, and then you can put yourself back together. You can be broken in a way that becomes trauma. Okay? You can be broken by someone who knows how to break things the right way, and you could be broken by people who don't know, they just break you. Okay? Imagine you and I meet each other somewhere, and I become attracted to you and you become attracted to me. Okay? And slowly I come to realize that there are certain parts of you that are severely broken. Now, this doesn't reveal itself the first few weeks of our relationship. But as you and I become more comfortable, as you undress physically, you also begin to undress emotionally and intellectually. So I begin to see more of you. Okay? And I can either like what I see or I can dislike the things I see. Okay? If I like what I see, I will continue. If I dislike what I see, depending on how attached I am to you, okay, I would want to walk away, but because of my attachment, I can't, so I remain glued, hoping that if we go to a workshop together, read a book together, go hiking together, the brokenness will go away. Okay. There are people out there who enjoy being around people who are broken. I would like to think very highly of myself, but I can't be of any use if I'm not needed. Okay? So if you and I go out and you don't really have much to say, and you know, Lula, I teach philosophy. I know the answers to everything. So, well, that's good for you, Amir. So, well, damn. All the books I've read, she's not interested. And if I don't have very much confidence in myself, if I don't know how to kind of keep my space, how to be okay with just being a nobody, I'll probably kind of walk away from the state. If on the other hand you reveal yourself and you say, well, you know, my sister this and my brother that, my boss this and my girlfriend that, so good. Every time you kind of give me a question, kind of like what I do here, I ramble on for hours. I say, yes, doing a really good job. I mean, so insightful, so clever, so intelligent. You know, my value goes up. Okay. Most people enjoy being around broken people because it makes them look good and feel good about themselves. Gurdjieff is not looking for that. Gurdjieff doesn't care about your boyfriend. He doesn't care about your parents. He doesn't care about your boss. He wants to know if you have the capacity to be broken by him. Because when he breaks you, okay, he puts you back with the glues that he has. This is very important. Okay? If the Buddha runs into Jesus Christ, okay, Jesus needs to convince the Buddha that he's a sinner. The Buddha says, no, I make mistakes. And I try to fix my mistakes. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in damnation. Okay? None of that stuff. She says, listen, if you accept the fact that you are a sinner, then I can't save you. He says, listen, I'm a little ignorant, I'm a little stupid, unintelligent. I'm trying to fix that. Okay? And all of a sudden Jesus becomes, and I'm using those two people in the 21st century model. Okay? The truth is, if Jesus actually was to run into the Buddha, they'd probably like kiss on the cheek, sit and have breakfast. You know? Because what you do, for example, is this. You want to take the wisdom of Gurdjieff and go home and fix your relationship with your boyfriend. His teachings are not about that. He wants to first convince you that you're an idiot. Once you realize that you truly are an idiot, you're married because you're an idiot. So your marriage is idiotic. You have children because you're an idiot. So you can't but raise idiots for kids. Your job the major you chose to do in school. Okay. The very foundation of who and what you are is idiocy. There is nothing good about that. Once you do that, once Gurdjieff can convince you that you're an idiot, then it's not just one or two branches of your life that you grow unhappy with. It's everything about your life you become unhappy with. Everything. Okay? Now that he's kind of convinced you that your life is crap, he's going to start telling you why. Not because of your boyfriend, not because of your parents. He's going to tell you why the human organism itself is stupid. And then he'll give you the remedies, little by little, okay? What most of us usually do is you have an issue, okay? Let's say you're just a horrible instructor in the classroom, or you're a bad companion. You say, okay, well, let me go read the Gospels. Let me see what he has to say about that. So you become a good wife, but a horrible mother. Okay. You have to understand the nature of wisdom is it's all encompassing. It covers all of you, all aspects of your life. That's what Gurdjieff is. Gurdjieff doesn't focus on a single branch in life. He kind of focuses on everything about life. Okay? Consider the following. Anybody who hurts you, you have no right to blame them. You have to blame yourself for feeling hurt. It's not your dad, it's not your mom, it's not your brother or sister, it's not your boss, it's not your teacher. You are the poison. So if you go to him and say, my father did ABCD, shut your mouth. You are the poison. You don't understand. You don't understand why human beings desire to complain. I have every right to complain. My father did ABCD. Shut your mouth again. You have no idea what you're talking about. Always blame yourself for having the poison, for having the wrong perspective on things, because you lack understanding. What do I need to do? Remember yourself. What does that mean? That you are not this part called hurt related to the father. You have to be bigger than that. This Lula that's hurt because of something that someone said, it's a tiny little Lula that lives inside the belly of this big Lula. But because Lula doesn't see herself the right way, she keeps attaching herself to these tiny little pathetic Lulas. And say, well, what do I need to do? You have to remember yourself. What self? Well, the big self. How do I remember that? By getting rid of the little selves. Well, how do I do that? You come to my house. I will slap you every single night until you are hurt no more. And the thing about Gurdjieff is this, any good teacher is that if they can break you, if you allow them to break you, once you leave them, nothing can ever touch you. You won't feel anything. Because Gurdjieff and all these teachers are about one thing. When you understand things the right way, you can no longer feel. And when you can no longer feel, you can't create relationships. You can feel intensely about the stuff that lives inside you. Okay? But you can never feel for another human being out there. You make a great company for yourself, to yourself. You can sit and read and write and think. Do you know what happens when you spend 10 hours by yourself? And you can spend that relatively healthily? You won't have very many needs. You don't need anyone to love you. You can do that on your own. You don't need anyone to inspire you. You can do that on your own. The problem with Gurdjieff is you have to dig really, really deep and for a long, long time to be able to self-remember and to get rid of certain habits, you know. And, you know, it's kind of like Cassie's question. It's a difficult thing to do. Gurdjieff doesn't care for your brokennesses that life has given you. He doesn't care for those things. You know, he doesn't like people to tell him what Jesus is. He doesn't care for your interpretation of life. He doesn't care about your concept of justice, of education, of right and wrong. Gurdjieff stands up here. He sees you down here. He's not a Jesus Christ. He's not going to come down there and wash your feet. He's not going to have you, he's not going to turn his cheek over and over again for you to slap. You know, he's a very reflective Jesus Christ. He's not like that Jesus Christ, 2,000 years ago. He values his time and energy. You go to Gurdjieff whole. You have a good life. You have a great relationship with your wife, with your husband, with your children, with your parents. The foundation of your life is good. You go to him. He breaks you. He doesn't destroy your relationship with your mom or your dad, your husband, your wife. Those will have gradually happened, but you'll kind of fix them back up. But for him to give you, it's kind of like, imagine Gurdjieff to be a pitcher of water. And you're a cup. And you go to Gurdjieff and he looks at you and you're full of whatever. He says, what the hell are you here? Because whatever I give you is going to just kind of just roll off. If on the other hand you just go and there is nothing inside you, he says, okay. Lula is open to be manipulated, to be exploited, to be used, to be abused. I can now give the stuff to her and hopefully teach her how to use them well. And that's what makes things so difficult, I think, for us in modern times. We take a tiny complaint to it's kind of like the thing we talked about last week about someone going to the microphone and saying, I'm angry. And Gurdjieff saying, well, listen, you know what happens when we left the farmland and we invented big cities? Do you know the power of advertisement? Big cities, big advertisement. Secularism is all meat. Do you know what happens to your psyche? Do you know what happens when you become extremely ambitious in capitalism and secularism? Do you know what happens when you become an individual? Especially if human beings are not made to be individuals. Do you know the amount of pain and suffering that you have to go through? And then, gradually you begin to not like things. You won't like yourself, you won't like your job, you won't like your kids, you won't like your companion, you won't like anything. And you're left with regret, all the choices you've made. What have they gotten you? Nothing. You have every right to be angry. But that's not what people want to do. People want to say, I'm angry because of my dad. I'm angry because of my job. I'm angry because of this. And he says, no. If you're a human being, you have no choice but to be angry. But be angry in a healthy way. To be angry in a healthy way, you need to see the big picture in life. And that's what these people want to do. Just give us the big picture, and it's too difficult. It's too big for us. You know, it's like you're going out on a date with someone who really likes you and you keep talking about your ex, for example. And he goes and buys you like a dozen roses. Well, the truth is, you want these roses to be given to you by your ex, not by this guy. If, on the other hand, the guy you're going out with, he broke your heart, if he brings you a dozen roses, that will say something to you. You may say yes to him again. So what you have is, you go to Gurdjieff, he wants to give you a dozen of roses, but the truth is, you don't really care for his roses. You're there to figure out why this guy left you. He says, I don't care about that guy. I'm here so that you can like me. Does this make sense? No? باید گرفتارم شوی تا که گرفتارت شوم. از جان و دل یارم شوی تا عاشق زارت شوم. من نیستم چون دیگران بازیچه بازیگران. اول بدام آرم تو را وانگه خریدارت شوم. People who were with Gurdjieff loved Gurdjieff. If you love Gurdjieff, you become passive to Gurdjieff. When you become passive to Gurdjieff, Gurdjieff can push you around. And when he hurts you, then he'll give you the medicine. And because you love him, you let him hurt you. And because you love him, you let him give you the medicine. And because you love him, you trust him, and you have faith in him. So both pain and healing, they both come from the same source, Gurdjieff. I think the idea that you can't love two masters, you can't sit and read 10 hours of Jesus Christ and 6 hours of Buddha. It doesn't work. Unless you can digest things really, really maturely. But for most of us, they're in complete opposite. They're going to create a good amount of conflicts. One day you'll believe that you're a sinner, and the next day you believe that you're really not a sinner, you just made some mistakes. You know, when you're like a Buddha, you can do things on your own. When you're Jesus Christ, you need a good amount of pain to cry and to go to God. In Buddhism, there is no prayer. But in Christ, you need prayer. You need longing, you need yearning. You need attachment. So you can't, they may both be nice people, but you can't love them both. It doesn't work. Kendra, anything? Sure?
My head's already gonna explode.
You're going to explode?
Yeah.
The what?
My head is already going to
Yeah.
many different directions.
Yeah. You know, Lula, only when you are useful to Gurdjieff can you be useful to yourself. You know, when you do, for example, masonry, and you want to like lay bricks, for example, you get a good, you know, whole brick, like one of those red bricks you buy at Home Depot for $1. It's beautiful. But you need to put this brick in a spot that's only 4 inches wide. So what you do is you break the brick or you cut the brick with a saw 4 inches. And you put the brick there. You put some mortar and then put the brick on the top. Becomes beautiful. You allow the mason to break you accordingly. I'm not going to give the brick to Yusuf and say, okay, bang it on the ground and then I'll put it here. It doesn't work. I have to break it. And when I break it the right way, I give the brick meaning. If Yusuf does it, I just have to get the dustpan and then trash it.
So then you're saying then when Gurdjieff died, and other people started becoming his, like the different organizations he's built, so then they don't break the brick the right way. It's not the same thing. When his body, you know, when he was gone, and they, like the people that, like you said, all these different Gurdjieffian places are there. Metaphorically, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
I know that's maybe silly.
No. I think if you were to rephrase the question,
Please rephrase it.
whether it's Gurdjieff or Socrates or Plato or Jesus or Muhammad, the question is what makes someone a teacher? Okay? And is it possible that for someone to just be around a certain teacher, when that teacher dies, will that someone have the qualities and the components that lived inside this teacher? Okay? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not really quite sure how teachers are made. I think it may be a little bit of everything and a good amount of mystery and magic. I don't know. I don't know why we have, 3,000 years of Western philosophy and then there is only Socrates. I don't know. I don't know why there are all these Arabs and there is one Muhammad. I don't know. I mean, there's a little bit of I mean, consider, for example, Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, there are all these Indians. They all suffer. We have some very rich and famous Indians, educated Indians. He just happens to be on a train. Lots of Indians on a train. He gets kicked out. Okay. And all of a sudden something happens to him. Why? All of a sudden people begin to follow him. Why? I don't really know. You know? I don't know why single-handedly he was able to do what he did. I mean, I don't know why Muhammad Ali was the way he was. You know? Why he had such a flair. I don't know. I mean, your question is really, really good, because what you're asking is, at least I think, Gurdjieff was a regular guy, okay? He becomes interested in certain things. He travels, he makes sacrifices, and then he comes to a place in life where he says, I have something to offer. Okay? And then all of a sudden, people become attracted to him and then to the things he has to offer. And these aren't like 5 or 10-year-olds. These are like people, adults, you know, who are willing to walk away from their wives and husbands, their children, their parents, their countries, to follow him, to put their lives at risk. And they're governed by love, they're governed by trust, they're governed by faith. You know? It's like what's happening to people in Trump, what's happening to people, what was happening to people in Hitler, you know. All these figures have a certain flair to them. There is something about them that make people come to life, you know. Once they die, the light goes away. You know, I think the assumption that we have is, if I've been hanging around with my dad for the past 60 or 70 years, I can take over his business and be like him. No, I can fake it for a while, but I'll never be like him, unless I have the same magic inside me. You know, so when you have these groups, like the father dies and then says, okay, son, this spiritual organization now belongs to you. I don't know if something you can kind of just pass on. But usually when teachers die, everything falls apart, because they glue everything together. I'm sure if there was a way to create teachers, there would be an SLO for that.